just talking, and y'all couldn't hear a thing I said. Oh, bless. All right, so here we go. Let me go back and I'm Carla Renata, the Curvy Film Critic. Welcome, Brandon Kazuza and William Jacquin. Thank you for joining us here at the Curvy Critic with Carla Renata. Thank you for telling me my audio was off. It took me a minute to get it together, but I'm sure you can hear me now. So anyway, I talk to people above and below the line in the film industry, and I do reviews from the latest movies that are coming out at film festivals, so on and so forth. You can hear me now, everybody, right? Cool. Great. If this is your first time here, give me a big thumbs up to let me know that you are here. And click that bell for notifications, because you never know who you might miss. Like this week, we have Sophie Okonedo, who is on Amazon Prime Video's FLACK TV series. And you also know her from Ratched. And you know her from her Oscar-nominated role, Best Supporting Actress nominated role from Hotel Rwanda. Hi, Stacy. Thank God you thought it was you. Girl, you know, I don't know why I muted myself. I should just leave the mic open. I'm a hot mess. Yes, we can. Yes, we can, Kevin Lampke. So I was talking about Biden and Harris and how we got our new first Black, first Asian, first woman vice president, and we inaugurated her, and Joe Biden this week is our new president and VP. I love this picture of Kamala Harris, mostly because she's with her niece wearing a coat that her and her sister wore when they were kids. And she's wearing purple to commemorate and honor Shirley Chisholm, who was the first Black woman to run for president of the United States. So congratulations, Madam VP. I love saying that. I just love saying that. Congratulations, Madam VP, and to our new president, Joseph R. Biden. What else did I do this week? Oh, I did the Sundance Film Festival is coming up this week. And so they had a press inclusion reception for Sundance 2021, which is going to be all virtual, like all of the film festivals I have attended this year. Yes, child, they've all been virtual. But you know what? It's like a plus and a minus, because you're at home. So it's more easily for you to get distracted at home than if you're at the actual festival and you're like laser focused on going to this screening, going to that screening and doing your thing. It can be a little distracting at home, but I finally got a handle on it. So I think I'll be able to work that out. And I'll talk a little bit more about what's happening at Sundance in a minute. And last but not least, I shot my second to last episode of Superstore. You guys know I talk about being on Superstore all the time. I am an actress as well as a film critic, and I have been recurring on Superstore for the last 5 seasons as Janet. Full disclosure, but not really. I realized that when I first showed up at Superstore, I actually was like female employee number 1. So I went from being female employee number 1 to getting a name, Janet, and being there for 5 seasons. I'm so incredibly grateful to Justin Spitzer for bringing me back time and time again and giving Janet a voice and allowing me to give her a very acerbic personality, which is so not me in any way, but I love that I've had the opportunity to play that. I will be in pretty much all of the episodes that are airing on NBC in regards to Superstore from now through the end of the season. So I'll just remind y'all every Sunday when you're here that it comes on Thursday nights at, I think, 8 or 8:30. I think it's 8:30 now. They moved the time. You know, when they start snatching stuff off the air, they start moving the time slot and you can't even keep up with where it is. So there's that. All right. So you guys, just to remind you, I instituted a couple of segments. One is called Around the Curve, and the other one is called Curvy Classics. My Curvy Classic this week will be 3 films that are celebrating milestone anniversaries that star Tom Cruise. Can you imagine? I'll talk about that later. And then Around the Curve is where I give you like a little brief synopsis of the film news that happened throughout the week. So without further ado, let's take a trip around the curve. Let's take a trip around the curve. We celebrated a lot this week, y'all. MLK had his birthday, and we got a new president and a new VP. That's right, the first Black, Asian, and woman VP, my HU Bison sister Kamala Harris. Rumors were swirling with a Willy Wonka prequel produced by Warner Brothers, directed by Paddington's Paul King. Who do you want to see in the title role? Well, Twitter is nominating Lakeith Stanfield. January 22nd was National Popcorn Day, and Pixar dropped a little Pixar popcorn magic with bite-sized mini-stories featuring characters from Toy Story, The Incredibles, Finding Nemo, and Cars. Marvel Studios has found its villain for Moon Knight, Ethan Hawke, for the TV series on Disney+. However, no details as to which character Hawke will play. The series expects to start shooting in March in Budapest. HBO is developing an adaptation of Elizabeth Wetmore's novel Valentine with Salma Hayek, and Tyler Perry and the Motion Picture Television Fund will both receive the Jean Hersholt Humanitarian Awards at the Oscars on Sunday, April 25th. Fatale is available for purchase on digital DV Blu-ray on March 2nd. Sound of Metal Riz Ahmed signs his first look deal with Amazon Studios, and Deadline has confirmed that Josh Duhamel is in early talks to take over Armie Hammer's role in the Jennifer Lopez comedy Shotgun Wedding, less than a week after Hammer exited the project. Paramount is again moving the release date for A Quiet Place 2 to September 17, 2021, and the Sundance Film Festival will be in full swing this week with jurors Cynthia Erivo and Julie Dash. Rest in peace to the king of hosts, Mr. Larry King. We will miss you. Tune into The Curvy Critic for my reviews of The Mauritania, The Little Things, and guest Sophie Okonedo from Amazon Prime's FLACK. I'll see you over there at 5 p.m. on YouTube. Bye-bye. I love my little segments that I put together. I try to make them a little more polished every week. So it's a work in progress. Hang out with a sister and watch me grow and get better. But hi, Michael B. I didn't get a chance to say hello to you and to Stacy Shakur and to Soraya Butler. I'm trying something new this week. I'm actually streaming across 3 platforms simultaneously on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook. Facebook Live? Yeah, Facebook Live. So if y'all have questions for me, let me know. Type it in the chat and I will address it as we go along. So let me get into some reviews real quick before I get into Sundance and some other things that are going on with that. There is a film that I saw called Supernova, and next week I will have the stars of that film, Colin Firth and Stanley Tucci, here on The Curvy Critic with Carla Renata. I will be interviewing them about that film. It's written and directed by Harry McQueen, and it is a film in which there's this gay couple. One is a musician, one is a novelist, and they take a road trip around the mountains, I guess is what you could call it, because dementia is taking a hold of one of them. It's such a gentle story, and it's something that I've never seen either one of these two men do. You know, I saw Colin Firth do a lot of comedy up until The King's Speech, which he won the Oscar for. Stanley Tucci is way overdue for an Oscar. He slays everything that he's in, and he usually plays really, kind of not acerbic, but kind of off-kilter, acerbic comedic roles. But in this film, these two men are being very gentle. They are showing what it's like to embrace a loved one when their memory is failing them and you feel out of control. Like there's nothing that you can do to stop that train from going off the tracks. And when I tell you, it is one of those types of films where you are just a passenger going on for the ride. It's so wonderful. It's beautifully written. It's beautifully acted. There's a couple of lines that I loved in it that I wanted to share with you. When someone has dementia or Alzheimer's, the best thing you can do for them is not mourn them while they're still alive. Like, take advantage of every single solitary second that you have with them while they're here. Because there's going to come that day where they're going to look in your face and they're not going to know who you are. They're not going to know your name. They're not going to recognize who you are to them. And it's painful for sure, but it's bound to happen. And this film addresses all of that. It has the bomb 70s soundtrack. I heard House of the Rising Sun playing in the background. I was there for all of that. And I just love this line in closing it out about Supernova. One of the characters says, "I want to be remembered for who I was, not who I'm about to become." That's the best way to sum up Supernova. And it is written and directed by Harry McQueen, again starring Colin Firth and Stanley Tucci. It will be playing this week virtually online. All right. I saw this other film I'm going to get to before I get to Sundance as well. It was called, now I keep pronouncing the daggone name of the movie wrong, but I think it's pronounced The Mauritanian is what is, I think is how it's pronounced. And it is, it's a lot. It's directed by Kevin McDonald. The screenplay is by M.B. Travin and Rory Haynes and Sarab Nashirva. It stars Jodie Foster, Shailene Woodley, Benedict Cumberbatch, and Zachary Levi. Y'all, it's dealing with the trials and tribulations of what happened at Guantanamo Bay. I think it's Guantanamo. Yeah, Guantanamo Bay, where they were over there torturing. They were taking people that were trying to blow us up during 9/11, and they took all those people that they arrested and they tortured them. They were water torturing them with loud music and water torture. Like those scenes in that movie were really hard to watch. Like, I know that these were people that were threatening American lives, but it's still a human life. Those scenes were extremely hard for me to watch. But what wasn't hard for me to watch was Miss Jodie Foster and Shailene Woodley and Benedict Cumberbatch. Benedict Cumberbatch, I don't know what school he went to get his accents together, but he is doing this Southern North Carolinian accent that is primo. He plays the guy that is going against Shailene Woodley and Jodie Foster's characters. Now, Jodie Foster and Shailene Woodley's characters are playing lawyers at the ACLU. So in case you didn't know, the American Civil Liberties Union, I've talked about them on this show before in conjunction with other films like The Fight, a documentary that was produced by Kerry Washington. But the ACLU, when they say civil liberties, they mean civil liberties of anybody that is in America who needs legal help. And so they are poised with the undaunting task of representing this man who attempted to bomb the United States on 9/11. That is the gist of this film. And that is what takes place during the course of this film. And it's a lot going on, but it is riveting. It is very well written. It is very well acted. The torture scenes were crazy done. It centers around this guy named let me get his name right, Mahamadou. And after months and months of being in jail, they finally said, okay, you're free. But then they kept him in there for another 7 years. And then he didn't get out for another 14 years. And after years of legal wrangling, in 2015, he published his letters that he wrote while he was in jail under the title Guantanamo Diary. And it was turned into this book, The Mauritanian, which is the country that he's from, and it became a bestseller. So he was finally released in October 2016 after spending 14 years and 2 months in prison. When that comes out, I believe it is out now. If not, it might be out in a couple of weeks, but please, y'all, check that one out. It is bananas and cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs crazy. Last but not least, I want to get into The Little Things. The Little Things is a film that is produced by Warner Brothers, written and directed and produced by John Lee Hancock. And we got 3 Oscar winners up in this joint. We got Denzel Washington, Rami Malek, and Jared Leto. Baby, it's like Silence of the Lambs meets The Bone Collector, and it's just completely off kilter. The first 10 minutes of this film are breathtakingly hair-raising. I was holding my breath. I love thrillers. I love suspense thrillers, and this was right up my alley. There were more twists and turns and curves than a pretzel or that famous road in San Francisco for me with this one. It centers around this killer who's going around killing these young girls, and it is Denzel Washington and Rami Malek's job to find the killer. They think the killer is Jared Leto, and some really unsavory things end up happening. I don't want to ruin it for you. But one of the things that they say, one of the things that Denzel Washington's character says that was really apropos for this is he says, it's the little things that rip you apart, and it's the little things that get you caught. And the reason why he says that is because he is a police officer who mistakenly took someone's life and covered it up. And then he finds himself in the same situation with Rami Malek. And that's all I'm going to say about it, because if I say any more, I will truly, truly ruin it for you. It was shot in LA, and Jared Leto, I saw a Q&A with Jared Leto where he talked about how they had to stop shooting on the freeway chase in the film due to the freeway fires that were happening during that time. I was like, y'all better be shooting during a fire, because if that had been me, I'm like, I'm going to have to call in sick for the day. I'm just saying, I won't be shooting that film today. And just to let you know, Jared Leto's next film is a film called Gucci. So just in a recap, the films that I talked about today were Supernova with Colin Firth and Stanley Tucci, The Mauritanian with Jodie Foster, Shailene Woodley, and Benedict Cumberbatch, and The Little Things with Denzel Washington, Jared Leto, and Rami Malek. Now, let me talk about Sundance for a second. The Sundance Film Festival is one of my favorite things to attend because it's in Utah, it's on the mountain, it's just, fabulous and lovely and fluffy and all of that. And what happens is they assign a jury to each one of the categories of film. So, for example, the U.S. dramatic jury will include 3 judges, 2 of which are Cynthia Erivo and Julie Dash. You know Julie Dash's name from directing Daughters of the Dusk. And of course, Cynthia Erivo was a double Oscar nominee last year for her role in the title film, or her title role in the film Harriet, and for the theme song in that film as well. They have juries for the U.S. documentary category, World Cinema Dramatic, World Cinema Documentary. Next jurors, short film, the Alfred P. Loam Feature Film Prize. And that's it. So there's a bunch of names. I could tell you who they are, but you're not going to know who any of them are. I said the 2 that I think you all would recognize, and you can go and look it up or go to my blog, thecurvyfilmcritic.com. I will have a release up there tomorrow with all of the information and background of all of those Sundance jurors there. The Sundance Film Festival starts this week on January 28th, and it will go through February 3rd. So I'm very, very excited about that. Some of the films that I'm really excited about seeing from there is a film called Passing. It stars Tessa Thompson, where she is playing this young lady that's passing for white. Ooh, honey, I can't wait to see this. I think it might have a little vibe of what's that movie, y'all? Imitation of Life. That's it. Imitation of Life. So I think it might have a little vibe of that. Hi, Amber Bobbin. How are you? Thank you for sharing more films that I need to. Oh, of course. I'm always down for the films. Always down for the films. And William Jacquin, it's nice that you guys come. Us locals, it's 2 weeks of crazy traffic. I know, William Jacquin. I know it's crazy for y'all in Sundance, but it's like my private getaway. It's like my one chance to put on my parka and my boots and kind of work it out. But that's it. Welcome, Kareen Kaniba. I think that's how you pronounce your name. Thank you. Welcome, welcome, welcome. All right. Another film that I'm excited about seeing at Sundance is 2 documentaries, one that stars Rita Moreno and another one that is centered around Alvin Ailey. Alvin Ailey is one of my favorite dancers ever. And y'all heard me talking about Alvin Ailey week before last, when I had Harold Perrineau here, and I was telling y'all stories about him taking me to class with him at Alvin Ailey. But that's one of my films that I'm really excited to see at the Sundance Film Festival. And I always like to talk about the Black films that people are going to see, because, all the other films that end up being mainstream films, everybody's going to see those. And another film that I'm really hella excited to see is a new take on Romeo and Juliet. And so I'm really interested to see how they're going to deal with Romeo and Juliet now that we have cell phones. As you can see, they got the little picture with the self, like it's taken from a cell phone, like a little selfie. I love that so much. So those are 3 of the films that I'm interested in seeing. I have a list of about 40 that I'm actually going to see. So I'll let y'all know next week all about it. I'll do my best to go through all of them, and I'll do my best to see them. But you know how it is. Sometimes you get to them and sometimes you don't. All right, so that is it. The Sundance Film Festival is virtual online. I will find out between now and then if I believe regular people can buy tickets for it. So if you go to sundance.org, you can probably watch some films virtually as well. I would highly suggest doing that sooner than later, though. All right, let's get to the Curvy Classic. It's Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise has 3 movie milestones this year, y'all. 3 movie milestones. He has Jerry Maguire and Mission Impossible are both turning 25 years this year. Can you believe that Tom Cruise has been a movie star for over 25 years? He looks like he's 12 and he's still doing his own stunts, and he's well over 50 years old. I'm just saying. Jerry Maguire, the thing that I loved about Jerry Maguire, 4 things actually. I love the line, "You complete me," when he comes to see Renee Zellweger at the end of the film. As a hopeless romantic, that gave me all kinds of life. Of course, the "Show me the money" line from Cuba Gooding Jr., who went on to win the Oscar for the film. And I love that they showed a Black couple in the form of Cuba Gooding Jr. and Regina King that were madly in love with each other. Madly in love with each other. They didn't have no drama. They weren't ghetto. I love the depiction of Black people in this film. So let's give a big snap and clap to Regina King, Cuba Gooding Jr., and Tom Cruise for Jerry Maguire. And then let's talk about Mission Impossible. Now, y'all know earlier this year, Tom Cruise went on that big old rant where he went off on somebody about not being COVID safe, as well he should have, because it is no joke. I know I have lost people to COVID, so wear your mask and wash your hands. It's really no joke. But it is also celebrating a 25-year anniversary, and it was 1996 that he shot this. Not only did he earn praise for Jerry Maguire that year, but he also made his debut as Ethan Hunt in Brian De Palma's original Mission Impossible reboot of the franchise, kicking that franchise off. And now they're about to do the 7th one. So go ahead with your bad self, Tom Cruise. And last but not least, 35 years later, they are doing Top Gun again. This time it's called Top Gun Maverick. It was supposed to be released in July. They have pushed it back even further. But this happened 3 years after his breakout role in Risky Business. So after he did Risky Business, it proved that he was a big box office draw. They gave him Top Gun, and he cruised to the top of the highest earning movies list in 1986, earning $176 million in ticket sales. The sequel with Cruise reprising this role again, like I said, has been shifted and moved around due to the pandemic, but please keep your eyes peeled for that one as well. So let's get some snaps and claps to Tom Cruise for his 25 and 35 year Curvy Classic anniversaries. I love that so much. All right, now let me get into the woman of the hour, Sophie Okonedo. I had an opportunity to sit down and talk to her. We chatted for about 10 minutes. She's currently on a TV series called FLACK. She plays she's giving me caramel colored Miranda Priestley realness on this show. She's everything. She's crazy as hell, though. So in our interview, we talk about her picking those types of roles. And we also talk about the respect that the British have for their actresses of a certain age versus what they do over here in America. So take a look and a listen to this interview with my girl from FLACK, Sophie Okonedo. Hi, Miss Sophie.
Hi, Carla.
I love it. Girl, this show FLACK is crazy as hell. But crazy as hell in a good way.
Yeah, right? But I often do crazy as hell shows.
You do, which makes me wonder, is there like a little side of you that's kind of just like a little off kilter?
Ask my husband. A little bit? Ask my husband next door.
Ask your husband next door?
He'd be like, yeah.
What do you think the one characteristic is about Robin that she kind of goes, I see you, Robin.
I think one of the characteristics is that she can't not do this job. She has to do it. She's really hungry for that success. And I think that is like Caroline, that even though she tries to throw it away and do other things, at the end of the day, she's going to grab that opportunity. And I think she's very ambitious. And I think that's like Caroline too. And she might have to shove a few people out the way to get there. And I'm afraid I think Caroline can do that too.
Yeah, she could. Without blinking, she'd be like, you gotta go.
Because you know what? I think she's like, if you keep up to her level, then she's okay with you. She doesn't care if you are, whatever you are doing, you could be karate chopping, goblins or whatever you're doing in your personal life. She doesn't really care. As long as you turn up to work on time and you do your job, that's what she cares about. And if you don't do those things, then you're out.
In the UK, they seem to embrace ageism with women a little bit better than they do here, because some of your most revered actresses are older women.
Yeah, that's true. And I think that's a theatre tradition as well, because you have great longevity in the theatre. You can go on for a very long time.
Oh, yeah.
And all the big actresses in our country, the Judi Denches, the Helen Mirrens,
Maggie Smith,
massive theatre actresses. I'm a theatre actor. So that's what gives that gravitas, I think. So you never, on the theatre, you're never really relying on your youth or your looks or anything like that. You're relying on skill. If you can't do it, it doesn't matter how fantastic you look, you are not going to be able to pull off a show.
How do you think that pertains to women of color? Because it's very different for us.
Very different. It's been hard work. Country in England, in America too. Things are definitely changing now and things are moving. But when I was starting off, there were 0 parts for me. But that meant that I went to the theatre, because the theatre directors in Britain anyway always cast. I played the Duchess of Malfi, the Queen of England. I played all those parts in the theatre many times because Shakespeare, Chekhov, because I was always cast, and that's why I did so much theatre for like 15, 20 years and years of it before I really started doing well on. When I did Hotel Rwanda and people knew me, I was like 36. Right. In some ways, wow, it should have been easier for me at that when I first started, because I certainly had the talent of my peers. I was, as talented as the other actresses that were in my peer group that all became like movie stars, but there just was not the parts. There was not the movies. Like there was not, I get offered like the best friend of, or the boss at the so-and-so, nothing really. The movie careers were very, very hard to come by for a Black actress at that time.
Well, you've been crushing it. You seem to work more than most. So you're doing something right. And maybe it's because your background is rooted in the classics and with skills, like you said.
Skills. It's all about skills. Skills honed.
I'm from the theater too, so I overstand.
Yeah, it is. It's about the skills. When I was on Broadway, been on Broadway a couple of times, I just get so, particularly, I've never really done a musical, and I'm talking about, I became friends with lots of people that are musicals, and those people, they work so hard. My heart is out to them now. All those friends I know that are not working in this pandemic. Wow, it's really hard for a lot of theatre actors and dancers.
I know. It is. It's really tough. I could talk to you all day. This is a lovely conversation, and it was well worth the wait. Thank you so much for making time for me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for waiting.
I've been trying to interview her for the longest time. So I was so happy that we finally had an opportunity to speak. Before I get out of here, and thank you all so very much for all of the comments that you made about Sophie and throughout the broadcast. I wholeheartedly appreciate it. Before we get out of here, I said that every week leading up to the Golden Globes, which are happening in just about a month from now, I would go through my different list of people that I think may win or are going to be a part of the conversation. Last week, I did the best actresses. This week, I'm going to do the best actors. So I want to start with Riz Ahmed. I've spoken to Riz Ahmed and talked about his film Sound of Metal here. What he does in that film is just miraculously good. And you guys, if you haven't seen it, it is streaming right now on Amazon Prime Video. He is giving a tour de force performance. People throw that terminology around all the time, but I promise you, my boy is killing it in that film. So I think he's a shoe-in. I think Chadwick Boseman for his role in Ma Rainey's Black Bottom is definitely a shoe-in. Because he's just crushing it. And I said this when I reviewed the film, it's a culmination of everything he's done up until this point. Delroy Lindo and The Five Bloods, which is a Spike Lee joint. He's definitely overdue for some recognition. He's an OG. He's been around for a minute. He does fantastic performance after fantastic performance, time and time and time again, and is never acknowledged by the masses. But I think this might actually be his year. John David Washington, a lot of people don't know, but John David Washington is Denzel Washington's son, Pauletta Washington's son. He and Zendaya produced this film, Malcolm and Marie. And when I tell y'all, they are killing it in this film. They produced the film themselves. They gave everybody in the film points toward the gross receipts of the film, and they're donating a portion of the proceeds to Feeding America. I mean, come on. And he's giving monologues in this film. He does this one monologue about this film critic, which is bananas. And there was all kinds of drama online about this particular film critic, because apparently the film critic that he's ranting about is actually a real person. And there's all this drama about whether or not the filmmaker took her words verbatim and took a vendetta and used the film to get his vendetta out about her. You know what? Y'all got to roll with the criticism just like we do. Get your life. Really. And last but not least, Kingsley Benadir. I talked to Kingsley here on the Curvy Critic with Carla Renata about his role as Malcolm X in One Night in Miami. I think he does a fantabulous job. It would be really nice to see this brother recognized, but if he is not, it won't be the last time that we see or hear his name. Other people that I think will be in the conversation, I'm not sure if they'll end up being nominees: Anthony Hopkins, an OG from Silence of the Lambs, and a plethora of other films. He has a film about dementia called The Father. I think his name has been swirling around in the conversation. Gary Oldman's name, playing in the title role of Mank, which is currently streaming on Netflix, has been in the conversation. Lakeith Stanfield's name has been in the conversation, is swirling around Judas and the Black Messiah, which I did see, and we'll talk about it here when the embargo lifts. He was kind of fantabulous in that. Tom Holland is in a film called Cherry. I don't know, y'all. People are sleeping on Tom Holland in this movie. He plays a vet who becomes drug addicted, and it turns his whole life upside down. It'll be streaming on Apple TV Plus. Jude Law in The Nest is giving another performance that is just like, it's very reminiscent of what I saw him do in The Talented Mr. Ripley, but it was more the Matt Damon character in The Talented Mr. Ripley that did this kind of role other than Jude Law. So it's kind of nice to see Jude Law be a little nice nasty. I was there for that. Dev Patel, people are sleeping on Dev Patel and The Personal History with David Copperfield. I saw that at Sundance this time last year. He was fantabulous, and he needs to get some love. He's one of the most underrated actors that hits Hollywood. And last but not least, I talked about this young man here last week. His name is Adarsh Garavi. He is in The White Tiger that is streaming on Netflix. So those are my picks and possible mentions that will be swirling around this award season for Best Actor. That's it for the show this week. Next week, I will have Colin Firth and Stanley Tucci from Supernova here is my guest. I will also have Angie Wells here, who is a Black makeup artist in the industry. And not for nothing, but my girl got some pretty heavyweight credits. She did the makeup for Carey Mulligan in The Promising Young Woman and Mudbound. So we're going to talk to her, and we're also going to finish up with Sundance 2021 as much as I possibly can. And if there's a couple of other films that drop throughout the week, I'll try to bring those to you as well. Thank you, everybody that came through the room. Let me go through and say hello. Kitty Kurth, Michael B., Brandon, Soraya, Amber, Kazuza, Stacy. Let me pull this up. I can't pull it up. I can't pull it up. But anyway, those are the ones I can see. I think William Jacquin was up in here. I think I said Brandon, and there was someone else that was new that I couldn't see. But thank you so much for coming and joining me for the Curvy Critic with Carla Renata. I'm here every Sunday at 5 o'clock with reviews and interviews with people above and below the line. If this is your first time joining me, please give me a big old thumbs up to let me know you were here. Click that bell for notifications, and I will see y'all next week. Be safe, wash your hands, social distance, and I will catch you on the flip side. Love, peace, and hair grease, y'all. Bam!